is that man? I don't know. He's wearing a hat now. Hello everybody and welcome back to a perfectly sane man who talks about global issues. My name is Edinger and hey, today we're gonna be doing a little bit of a Reddit video because I've heard your requests. Europeans talks about the UK too much, talks about the US too much. Not today. We're talking about a little bit of a subreddit called AskEurope. Ask you. Rope you guys in to this video and another one in 2 weeks, so subscribe to catch that one. Also, today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. You'll hear more about them at the end of the video. So today's thread is what's a big no-no in your country? A big no-no-no. So things that could be a thing in other countries, but absolutely do not do that in your home country, in Europe. So without further ado, what is the first one here? Make a video about Europe and yet somehow the UK is at the top of the list. We're not... This is what I've had to live with for the last month. Gonna move somewhere soon, hopefully. So, yet again, even though this is about Europe, the UK has to just find a way to be at the top comment. They're not even in EU, but I guess they're still in Europe. Anyway, never ever call anyone from Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland English. Absolutely not. That is probably the best way to make someone hate you here. It's like calling someone from New Jersey a New Yorker. Oh boy. Or calling a Canadian an American. It's not necessarily the biggest mistake. They'll forgive you, it's fine. But yeah, very distinct countries who all unite in the United Kingdom to hate England. That is how this society works that we currently live in. Next up, we have violating personal space in Finland. Interesting, like sitting next to someone on the bus if there are empty seat rows, being closer than like 2 meters to someone at a bus stop without a reason, talking to strangers with no apparent motivation or reason. You would really not like it in the States or the north of the UK. I kind of vibe with that though. I've never actually been to Finland, but I like the concept that personal space is such a big thing to the Finnish people. Another one is bad behavior in sauna. There is no arguing, no provocations, no sexual approaches, no farting. You hold in your farts in a sauna? You're literally like baking in there. The gases are all around you. Come on, just gotta... I get it. Finnish people are really into their saunas. Then we have thinking we are Russians. Oh yeah, basically like the previous one. If you're in a country that isn't Russia, just don't assume anyone's Russian. I think that's a big way to offend a lot of people in a lot of countries. Or else you'll be rushing to the hospital when they put you in a body bag, maybe, I don't know. In France, not saying hello to the shopkeeper / other clients in small shops. This is particularly true in smaller cities. I've seen many tourists forget to do this and they usually end up receiving poor customer service. What? I've literally never known that. So it's kind of like in the UK how you're supposed to say thank you to the driver on the way out. So hypothetically it doesn't really matter because you'll never interact with him that same day. But in France, just by walking into the shop, you have to say bonjour, bonsoir, you know, Mr. Shopkeeper man, monsieur, I don't speak much French. Or they'll give you bad service. Interesting. That's a really cool little cultural thing that I'm gonna try and learn. Just have to figure out how to say different things in French besides good morning and good evening. Avec fromage. Well, we have Ireland here with go to everyone's funeral. If a friend's distant aunt twice removed dies, you turn up. So that's not a big no-no, it's a big yes. But yeah, basically, I've known a lot of Irish people, and it's weird how many different stories of different funerals I've heard of, because I haven't been to that many funerals, but Ireland, that's a huge cultural thing. The whole family, the whole family's family, and the family's family, they all arrive and mourn, and I believe there's alcohol involved, somewhere before or after. Maybe not during. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Putting sauce on your schnitzel is considered a hate crime in Austria. What sauce would you put on a schnitzel? Maybe, to be fair, I think I've had a schnitzel once with like a white gravy. No, I haven't. Okay, I don't want to be hate crime. Who the f would do that? Slovakia is also offended. Check children with ketchup. I mean, children put ketchup on anything though. If you go to like a high-end restaurant, I'm sure you can find some child and some bad parents allowing them to put ketchup on their steak. Tisk tisk. Germany here with asking about someone's well-being just for small talk is rude. When you ask how people feel, be willing to listen. Oh, yet again, Germany would not get along with being in the UK. You say like, you all right? You're not actually asking if you're all right. You just expect to hear, all right. Everyone's all right. In Germany, if you say, you all right, be like, nein, meine Mutter hat gestorben und ich bin sehr, sehr traurig. Okay, that's cool. You all right? Naja. Had someone at work ask me how I was feeling. I said pretty terrible. She was confused that I'd admit that and somehow turned it into a joke. I wasn't in the mood for a joke. I had a headache. and nobody was happier afterwards. Hey, say what you want, but at least the Germans are a bit honest with their feelings. In Sweden, a big no-no, go into someone's house with your outdoor footwear on. Oh, I think that's a similar thing to how it is in Japan. Just good manners, I suppose. Depends who I know in the UK or US. Some people are big onto taking your shoes off, others aren't, but Sweden, that's a big no-no, all right? Ireland with something we've already covered, do not call us English. Also, don't say no to an old woman who's offering you a cup of tea. That's pretty similar in the UK as well. I've heard if your nan offers you tea, even if you just don't want tea in the slightest, you have to say yes. It's just culturally sensitive. Otherwise, you might as well get that hot tea in your face. Never get off the bus without thanking the driver is a big one here that has got me the occasional odd look when outside of Ireland. You get an odd look for thanking the driver? I think that's just quite kind. If you do that in London, you'll get a look of like, wow, a text. Romania with not giving the old person your seat on the bus/tram. Well, that's quite a wholesome one. I'm just comparing this to London, but like on London, you just pretend that you're asleep. But it's nice that that's a big no-no in Romania, enough to be a top comment here. My wife is Romanian, and I like to try and wind people up. It's always lighthearted, and the aim is to make people laugh. One time, I wanted to see if I could wind up my mother-in-law by saying something positive about communism. Safe to say, she did not find it funny, so I think I can say mentioning communism to Romanians can be a big no-no. Do not mention the Communist Manifesto next time you're visiting Romania. Good to know. I feel like this should be a universal rule. What's America doing here? Who invited you to this chat? You think everything's communism. Doing the Nazi greeting? Denying the Holocaust or joking about it. I'm German, and a shocking amount of Americans I met found it funny to go, oh, you're German, Sieg Heil, just 9. Yeah, I'm one of those people that's really into dark humor, and when I was in Munich for quite a while, I did come up with a pretty funny original joke about maybe something I shouldn't have, but I did pitch it to a couple Germans who gave exactly the same reaction. They were all like, yeah. Is this good enough? Ah, we finally have one from the Netherlands. What have the Dutch got the biggest no-no about? Saying Holland is the same as the Netherlands. Isn't Holland like that left bit of the Netherlands where the Flemish is spoken? Saying the Netherlands are the same or somehow linked to Belgium. Yeah, that's definitely not what I was implying with that previous thing. I'm gonna have to Google this. I always called it the Netherlands, yet people in the UK call it Holland every time and it's confusing. Growing up, I'm fairly certain, like, as a child, when we learned about different countries in Europe, it was always Holland. You'd see, like, little clogs, and people holding hands with the clogs, and it would say Holland. I'm now gonna have to Google this. The Netherlands consists of 12 provinces, but many people use Holland when talking about the Netherlands. The two provinces of Noord and Zuid-Holland together are Holland. Ah, so I was kind of right. It's basically two provinces of the Netherlands are Holland. Or, if we can double up on the big no-nos, it's like you're going to Edinburgh and you say, oh, I'm heading off to England. Someone's gonna pay. Don't mention Hitler or other famous Nazis in public spaces. You may get yourself in an awkward situation. It's kind of like Voldemort in Harry Potter. You just don't mention those names in public. Definitely a word of note. I feel like that's one of those things that like should be mildly obvious, but I guess not. I guess in the UK, if you said something like, I love Theresa May or Margaret Thatcher, that's one hot woman, maybe that'd be a big no-no. I'm just remove the maybe. Just don't, that's a weird, why would you say that? You said it. In Poland, nothing's unusual. Folks are a bit touchy on history though, especially WW2. Don't try talking the war here with American movies like Schindler's List being your primary source of information. Yeah, the amount of people that, that really troubles me. Where you're like, oh, I've seen this Hollywood film. I understand how it is. Italy, hey, you've come out. My favorite, New Jersey, right? Home state. I'm just doing that as a joke, please Italians don't hate me. Most countries are, do not mistake us for a different nationality. Do not mention bad parts of our history. Italians, do not put the wrong stuff on top of our food. Hey, I like to make aglio e olio. It's one of my favorite dishes of all time. Very simple. It's also vegan, but every once in a while, I put Parmesan on top. I just like cheese. I'm sorry. Every once in a while, normally not. Okay, please, Italians, don't hurt me. Thank you. But also, yeah, Italians get really weird. If you decide to add chicken to a dish that doesn't have chicken, they're like, what have you done? You have pasta. Accents, really good at them. Our first one from España, not letting a friend invite you to a drink when they are decided to. Like, I've literally seen several screaming arguments because of this. All right, so a friend invites you to drink, and you're not in the mood to drink, and they get offended at this? A big no-no? A big, sorry, Spanish, no-no? Okay, alcoholism, big thing in España, or maybe it's just the culture of going out with each other, or it's kind of like declining a drink from your grandma in England, but yet it's alcohol. I bet that's so different. I say no to so many engagements because I'm like, sorry, I'm a little bit busy making this video for you guys to subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for subscribing, appreciate that, woohoo. On r/Belgium, rule number 5 is, do not advocate serving Belgian beer in beer glasses that weren't specifically designed for them. The Belgians are very big on their beer. Has to be a very specific style glass. Good to know. A big no-no. I literally don't give a crap what branding or size or style glass I have. If I'm drinking a beer, I'm drinking a beer. The beer in that country is a Yum. Why do you subscribe to me? Never call us Spanish, and don't try to speak Spanish in Portugal. It's better to speak English instead. I've definitely been guilty of doing this. It's just because I know so much Spanish and I don't know any Portuguese. And so I'm like, isn't this close? Don't a lot of you guys know Spanish? They would rather you die, actually. Don't use Spanish in Portugal. Do not talk about the wars. A lot of people here lost people in the Yugo wars. Also, you will start a shitload of fights in Serbia. Good to know, because I don't really know much about those wars. Thank you, American education. You have saved me from a big no-no in Serbia. Denmark, not a huge no. But please don't call people Mr. Last Name unless they're old enough to have experienced the Napoleonic Wars. Really? This incredibly polite gesture? What? Practically everyone in Denmark is on a first name basis. Up to and including the Prime Minister. Different rules for the Queen, but if you have a chance, upon the Crown Prince in an informal setting, he prefers the informal tone. Wow! I love this type of content, man. I'm learning so much. I'm not gonna commit any of these no-nos, and you guys better not either, okay? Another one from Romania. Never, ever bring someone an even number of flowers. It is reserved for the dead. I mean, I've been offered a lot of flowers, but I've never brought anyone any sort of flower. That's good to know. Also an interesting cultural tradition. Even number of flowers, don't do it. Also, aesthetically, not as pleasing. Calling us Germans, or French, or Italians, or even thinking we could be even remotely similar to them, honestly, even though we do speak some of the languages to an extent, and are culturally not very different. Never ever tell a Swiss person that they are German/French/Italian. What we're learning from this thread, probably ask where people are from, but maybe their country nouns? I'm really good at English. In Turkey, we have do not say, oh, I thought you would be speaking Arabic. Or, I didn't know women were allowed to not wear hijabs. I mean, these things come off pretty insensitive, so try not to be insensitive. When I personally asked Europe what the biggest no-no for the entire region is, it's not hearing from a word from our video sponsor today, Squarespace. Squarespace, probably the best way in Europe or any other country to design your own website. Do you guys want a professional space online that's more than just your Instagram if you're a photographer, where you just want to have a dedicated space completely customizable just to you? I mean, Squarespace is the way to do that. That's why I am so happy to have partnered with Squarespace and have such a really nice website that I love on there. They've got so many different templates to choose from. You can make it your own, doesn't have to look like anyone else's, and it's so easy to get custom support. Literally, anytime I've ever had problems with them, all I do is ask. Within 24 hours, I've got a reply, I can fix something. It's super sick. Plus, I'm really happy to have a store on there and my blog. If you're a fellow creator or someone that just wants to have a good professional looking space online, I cannot recommend them any more highly than I already have, because they're great. And that's why I'm so happy to work with them so often. If you're someone that also wants to have a space like myself and many others, please sign up with the link in the description, squarespace.com/Evan Edinger, and you can get 10% off your first domain or website. Thank you, Squarespace, for sponsoring so much. I love you, babes. Anyway, I also love you guys, okay? Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, I've got another one of these Ask Europe videos coming out in a couple weeks, so do subscribe if you haven't yet, or you can watch a previous Europe-related video right there. Wow, he's the content king. Hopefully, I have a house in the next 4 weeks. We'll see. Thanks for staying in touch. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.